Just a reminder, please use the raise hand button if you have any questions for Coach. With that said, if someone wants to start us off with the first question, the floor is open.
Matt, you talked yesterday about using these practices kind of differently as a chance to evaluate rather than compete. At what point in thinking about offensive linemen do you start to zoom in on, okay, I think this guy's a guard, this guy's a tackle, that kind of thing?
It's a great question. I think, with your starting 5 or 6, you're trying to put them at the position that they play best. And then after that, we're just trying to see how much versatility we can get out of some of these other guys. Even though they might be best as a guard, can they also play center? The best way to be up on game day is to be a versatile guy. So I think this is a time now, even through OTAs, where you can move guys around, experiment with their best, to find out not only what's their best position, but how they can get on the field the quickest and how they can provide the most depth for us. And then as we get, in training camp, we really have to zero in on some of those things. But, especially with the 17-game season, we know there's going to be some attrition at times. There'll be some, shuffling of the deck at points.
With a guy like Christensen, who was kind of an established left tackle in college, are there things you see in him that make you think, oh, he could play right tackle or he could play guard or other positions?
Well, I think when we drafted him, we thought he was a guy who could play tackle, but also would be an elite guard. His ability, whether he can snap or not is, and has the ability to make those calls. That's what these camps are for. But we saw him as a guy that had 4 position flexibility. So we move him around a little bit right now just to get him some exposure.
Let's go to David Newton.
Hey, Matt. The NFLPA said that about 15 teams have implemented some changes in their OTA and minicamp programs as a result of discussion with players and coaches. What have been the discussions you guys have had regarding this, and have there been any changes?
Well, it'd be hard to have changes because we didn't have them. This is our first time having them, So, it's just kind of what we think is best for our team right now. The leadership on our team, they've the key guys on our team, they've told me, hey, Coach, we're there. We're going to do whatever you ask us to do. We try to go into everything. First we talk to the sports science guys. Then we talk to the medical staff. So we believe in all the things that guys are asking for. We believe in ramp-up periods. We believe in waiving. We believe in using GPS. So a lot of the things that I think some guys are asking for, we do. And so we're taking this as, we have a young team. It's a chance for us to develop some just very basic skills for a lot of guys, basic knowledge of our systems, and then try to grow from there. So, I think, it's voluntary. The guys that show up, I think that they'll be, they'll work, but they'll also be pleased with that everything hopefully is, smart and well done.
I want to also ask you, I know you bounce around all over practice, but you coached almost every position out there. Is there a favorite spot you like to sit there and watch the most?
Yeah, I like to watch the offensive and defensive lines the most, just because you can see so much of the other. You can see one-on-ones, you can see 7-on-7, see some of those team periods, which we're not necessarily doing. I can see some of those other positions, but I really like to see the offensive and defensive linemen up close. They're not tired when they take the reps, and you can really get a feel for, what they can be, especially in a rookie practice like this. So, I try to make sure I get around during individual. I try to make sure I, let the coaches coach, and but at the same time, really get a feel for, especially with these young guys, who does what. And I think at a rookie practice, non-padded practice, the individuals where I can really see the O-line and D-line and how well they learn and how well they take a simple correction and how quickly they're able to, apply it.
And one more quick thing. I know you talked last year about the one glaring situation on offense. You guys didn't really have that go-to tight end as far as the receiver. Y'all tried to upgrade that during the offseason. Is Trimble a guy that he mentioned today that you guys are really emphasizing working on him as a receiver? How do is he a guy you believe can be an elite receiver in addition to an elite blocker?
We took him because of his versatility. It's funny, after we drafted him, I heard some people talk, we don't really look at statistics as much as we look at skill sets, so We think he's a guy that can help us in the passing game. That's why we went and got Dan Arnold. We know Ian's going to have a great year. So I think all of those guys are going to fight to find their niche. I just think as a young player for Trumbull, it's hard for me to get too far out ahead of my skis and say he's going to be this, he's going to be that. But we certainly believe in his skill set and believe in him as a receiver.
Thanks a lot.
Let's go to Josh Klein.
Hey, Matt. During these rookie mini camps, you guys have a fair amount of tryouts and UDFAs that are on the field for you. What does somebody have to do to stand out that maybe to catch your eye?
We're watching them and evaluating. I mean, it's not like it was in years past where you could have a ton. You only get 5 tryout guys. I think we have 4 UDFAs, so it's a smaller number. So we're able to really kind of evaluate them. I mean, the assistant coaches write a report on each guy. From the first guy drafted to the last guy signed. We write a report on each guy every night. Strengths, weaknesses in the classroom, strengths, weaknesses on the field, where they can fit. So we try to evaluate each and every guy and just, compare that against our roster. And, we're looking for guys, again, that have the requisite skills that, that are big, fast, strong, athletic, but that are also smart, tough and dependable. So I can tell you there's some guys here that, as undrafted guys that you can or tryout guys that you can say yourself, hey, they can help us in some way. You can see it already. So a lot of guys just need an opportunity, so this is a good opportunity.
And if I could hone in on one of those specifically, Micah Simons was somebody that you brought in after the BYU Pro Day. And I know Scott obviously was attracted to his speed. What have you seen from him now that you've been able to see him on the field and out and in the classroom?
Just that he's doing a good job. He's got good hands. He's got a good attention to detail. He can run. He's quick. Garrett McGuire, who's a coaching assistant for us, he first brought him up. He knew of him from high school and knew that he was going to run fast. And then obviously we saw at the BYU Pro Day that he did run fast. So there's a couple guys that we brought in like that we while we were out at Pro Days. Julius from Ole Miss, EJ Barthel was there and saw him. Martez Ivy, Coop, pointed him out to me at Florida. So a couple guys that missed last year's cycle, the Pro Day cycle. I think we brought 3 of those guys in, 4, I guess, JT Ivy. So 4 guys that we signed at Pro Days that were from last year's class. And so, Micah's a fast kid. He just needs more reps.
Let's go to Joe Person.
Hey, Matt, understanding it was only 2 days, but as you look at this group, in addition to Horn, was there anyone else that you kind of were like, okay, this guy is going to be, if not a day one starter, certainly in the conversation?
When we drafted them, or
that, and having had a look at him now for 2 days?
Well, I think we like the team that was coming back, right? So. We like the things we did in free agency. So I think there's a lot of guys here that are going to step in and compete. But as I told them today, there's a lot of veterans that aren't going to just give up their job. I mean, that have played in this league and want to play. And so I think everyone from JC on down, they all have to earn it. And I told them yesterday, like there is no more first round draft pick, second round draft pick, UDFA. Like you're all on the team. No one really cares how you got here. What you did in college gave you this opportunity. Now it's about what you do now. So, we have a lot of veteran players or guys who at least have been in the league that know how to do things, and they're gonna be, they're proud guys. They're gonna play really hard. So I think if we did anything, Joe, we got ourselves a lot of competition. But there's definitely watching them. There's some guys out there that can help us. It's just a matter of how quickly they can handle it, and that's why I think having the OTA process, the minicamp, is just so vital.
And I wondered if kind of your early impressions of Nixon over the weekend.
Davion?
Yes.
Yeah, eager to learn. You recognize kind of his physical tools. He's got 35.5-inch arms, explosive. Coming out of the blocks. They play a different style at Iowa, so we changed his stance a little bit just to fit our style. And he's got a lot of potential. So we're going to just work with him and hope that we can get him to the point where he can provide some depth for us, and then compete to really go play for us. But I've been happy with him so far this weekend.
Let's go to Vincent Richardson for the next question.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned sort of each guy gets written up each day by somebody. I was wondering who's been tasked with writing up Thomas Fletcher, and how do you go about evaluating a long snapper, and what factors into what we expect to be a competition between him and J.J. Enns?
Yeah, so the position coach writes up everybody, and then on special teams, we have Chase Blackburn and we have Ed Foley, so those guys write up both those guys. So, for a long snapper, you look at their accuracy, you look at their time, you look at their blocking, their anchor, and then again, their professionalism in meetings, their ability to learn, all those things. So, we do that for every kicker, every punter. Their operation times, their misses, and we keep a documented record, and then also a qualitative number, a quantitative number, and a qualitative statement about just the things that we see. So, it's a tool for us to evaluate. B, it's also something that we can see what we need to work on and develop it. So. That to me, JJ's a stalwart around here. He's been here a long time. He's a really good player. He's very, 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 consistent. So we know that he's going to have a great OTAs in camp. And Thomas is a young guy with a lot of potential. He's going to have to get better at what he does, and they'll compete it out.
Go to Jonathan Alexander next.
Hey, Matt, I just had a quick question. Was Davion Nixon a guy who y'all had a higher grade on, and maybe perhaps a surprise he dropped?
I think the draft and the grades and all those things. I'm probably beyond that a little bit. I think he's a guy that did a lot of things in college. I'll just say we were happy that he was there when we picked him. We were excited to have a chance to get him, and. He has all the potential to be a really good player in this league. We just have to coach him, and he has to just, attack that process and just become a really, smart, reliable football player because he has all the physical tools.
Let's go back to Josh Klein next.
Matt, how do you measure professionalism? You mentioned that as something that you guys look for. How is that how does that translate itself in football?
Being on time, treating people well in the building, taking notes, knowing your assignments. We give you an install, and one guy shows up the next day, and he knows everything he's supposed to do, and the guy next to him, and then there's an injury at the other receiver, and he can go over there because he spent the night studying. And one guy played video games, and he shows up the next day, and he barely knows his spot. So does that you go with talent, the best player, obviously, but when you get past the number one or number two, let's say with receiver, the third receiver has to be ready to fill in at every position. And so if it's someone that doesn't take the time to do those things, to prepare as a pro, to take care of their body as a pro, then they're not going to be available to you when you need them. So when I say professionalism, it's we have a standard here for the way that we prepare, the way that we take notes, the way we take care of our body. We have unbelievably elite examples of that with our veteran players, so, we're just always monitoring it. So we can help a guy hey, you're not going to make it real long in this league, man, if you don't take care of your body, or if you're barely making it to meetings on time, or if you're not taking notes at a high level. So we're trying to help them, and then, but eventually, those skills will hurt you if you don't have them.
Is there someone, and you may not want to use any examples, is there someone on the roster coming back that really stood out to you as last year as hey, that's a guy who you might hold up as an example?
Yeah, I think, I would say you walk by our offensive line room in general. You walk by Taylor Moton. He's got a laptop out and he's typing notes the entire meeting. You walk by Matt Paradis, his level of preparation and detail, Christian, the way he takes care of his body. Shaq Thompson, he's one of the first guys in the building, and then he's doing extra. So, there's so many of those guys. And to make it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in this league, you have to, take great care of your body. And a lot of that greatness happens outside of the time window. So, we say 5 o'clock hits and the day's over. Some guys run out of the building on every roster, and some guys stick around for another 2 hours to take care of themselves. And so, we have a lot of guys who do it right. And we want to continue to build to that culture, right? So, when I see guys downstairs walk through the locker room and they're going through their notes, they're going through their playbook, they're doing flashcards, I say to myself, that's somebody that in week 15 I know is going to, eat up the scouting report and make sure that he knows everything that he needs to know for that week. And right now it's pretty slow. When we get into the season, the information comes fast. You've got to have a good process in place for yourself.
Let's go to David Newton.
Yeah, Matt, you just mentioned like the number of three receivers got to know every position. I wonder what you look at Terrace as. Do you look at him as a 3, or do you look at him as a 1 or 2, or how do you look at him?
I think it's too early to say. Obviously we have 2 great receivers in Robbie and DJ. We went out and got David Moore, who we're really excited about. So, any receiver that comes in, we hope that they can figure out how to play all those different positions. And the thing about DJ and Robbie is they can kind of move around too. So the more ability you have to move around, we can create mismatches with you. And so I don't know what Terrace will be in terms of his skill set. Can he be a number 1? Can he be a number 2? Obviously, we drafted him high, so we think he can be something pretty good. But he's coming into a situation where we have some veteran receivers ahead of him. So to get on the field, both he and Shai are going to have to be guys who really understand the system and understand where to go, so that they can provide a break for somebody. They can find a way to get on the field, and so they are doing a good job, at least as of 2 days, of knowing what to do and understand the why. So. Again, I think Frizz Jackson's an excellent coach, and they're taking good notes, and they're working hard at it.
And you mentioned yesterday that Joe Brady, when he was at LSU, the receivers played pretty much one spot, but you're playing in more positions, I guess, here, or different places here. Was that something that you encouraged, or that Joe decided? How did all that come about?
No, that's all Joe. I mean, I think when he went to college, he college-ified, and he could talk about this more than me, but he had more of a college version of the offense that he had run in New Orleans, and then coming back to the NFL has just kind of pro-styled it. So they when he was at LSU, they clapped and looked to the sideline sometimes. They went up tempo sometimes. They threw some RPOs. We don't quite do as much of that stuff. We got through last year, as an offensive staff, me, Joe, the assistants, and really, we've looked at everything that, who we have and what we can do. So, we'll have a different look in some ways at times this year, but that was, I think, just Joe going to LSU and saying, okay, this is who I have. And then coming back to the pros and saying, hey, no one's really been able to survive in just one formation like you can do in college and the pros. So, just kind of reinstituting more of an NFL look to it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. Coach, we appreciate the time.
All right, Joe.